All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're talking about a classroom revolution and what some incredible teachers in Thailand discovered about how we learn.
So here's the big question. How do you solve the biggest challenges in education? I mean, it's massive, right? We always hear about top-down solutions, big policy changes, but what if we're looking in the wrong place? What if the answer is one classroom at a time? Seriously, what if the real experts, the ones who know exactly what kids need, are the teachers themselves, on the front lines every single day? So what you're seeing scroll by right now, this isn't from some fancy university study. Nope. This is on-the-ground research from dozens of teachers all across Thailand. They basically said, okay, I have a problem in my classroom, I'm going to try something new, and I'm going to see if it works. And we're about to dig into what they discovered. And this gets to the heart of it all. These aren't just teachers, they're innovators. They didn't sit around waiting for someone to hand them a new textbook. They turned their own classrooms into laboratories to figure out what really works for their students. So, what's the first big pattern they found? Well, it's something we all know deep down. It's the incredible, undeniable power of play. The fancy term for this is gamification. But really, the idea is super simple. You take something that isn't a game, like a math lesson, and you add game-like elements to it. Why? Because when kids are engaged and having fun, they learn so much better. I mean, what's more motivating than a game, right? Okay, check this out. You've got a teacher trying to teach sixth graders about percentages and ratios. That's a tough one. The kids are bored, they're not getting it. So instead of another boring worksheet, she comes up with math bingo. And here's the kicker. Look at these results. Before math bingo, the class average was, not great, 28.5%. But after they started learning through the game, that score jumped all the way up to 81%. That is a huge difference, and it all came from just one creative, playful idea. And this wasn't just a fluke. This idea was everywhere in the research. We saw a teacher use a giant wheel for Chinese vocabulary. Another one made a science board game. There were even unplugged coding games, no computer needed, to teach kids algorithms. Just a ton of creativity. Okay, so play is a huge one. But it wasn't all low-tech. The second big theme that popped up was technology. And I'm not talking about just sticking kids in front of a screen. This was about using tech in a really smart way. And that's the key, right? They were using technology to give students personalized feedback. Think about it. It's almost impossible for one teacher to give one-on-one attention to 30 kids at once. But tech can help bridge that gap. Here's a perfect example. One study used an AI speaking coach for kids learning English. This little AI tutor could listen to them speak, give them instant corrections on their pronunciation, and the best part? The students could practice as much as they wanted without feeling shy or judged. And did it work? Oh yeah, look at this. Both fluency and pronunciation scores hit 91%. The tech just gave them a safe space to fail, try again, and get better. And again, it wasn't just fancy AI. Teachers got creative with all kinds of tech, using YouTube to improve speaking skills, using interactive online worksheets for chemistry. One class even built their own simple devices to check the air quality in the room. How cool is that? So we've got games, we've got tech, but the story doesn't stop there, because maybe the most common innovation of all was something, well, kinda old school. It was all about mastering the fundamentals. And honestly, this might be the biggest takeaway for me. Innovation isn't always about the newest, shiniest thing. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just get really, really good at the basics through focused practice. Like, look at this simple plan for improving handwriting. It's so logical, right? Step 1, practice the basic lines. Step 2, get the letters right. Then you move on to full words. It's not flashy, but it's structured, and it works. And the results of just doing that, of focusing on the fundamentals, a 29% jump in handwriting scores. It just goes to show you, sometimes the biggest innovation is a really well-thought-out plan. In fact, looking through all this data, one term kept showing up over and over again: BEP Phuk Taxa. It basically means skill practice worksheets. And whether it was math or English or even music, these carefully designed practice sheets were the most common and effective tool these teachers used. Period. All right, so let's put it all together. We've seen games, we've seen tech, and we've seen good old-fashioned practice. So what's the big picture here? What does this all mean? Well, if you break it all down, it looks something like this. About half of all the innovations were those skill practice worksheets we just talked about. 30% were games and other active learning things, and about 20% used technology. It's a really smart mix, you know? A little bit of the new and a whole lot of what's tried and true.
But here is the single most important thing, the bottom line of this whole story. No matter what method they used, the result was almost always the same. Students got better. Their test scores went up. The things these teachers tried in their classrooms, they just worked.
And there's actually a name for this whole process. It's called action research. And it's such a powerful idea. You empower teachers to be scientists in their own classrooms. Find a problem, try something new, and see what happens. It's that simple.
Which really just leaves us with one final thought. What we've seen here is just a small snapshot of what happens when you empower teachers to solve their own problems. So it makes you wonder, right? If every teacher was given the freedom to experiment like this, what other massive challenges could we solve next?